Welcome to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kennedy.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the village, the township, you know, those government entities that make laws and regulations and ordinances that affect you out there.
And whether you live in the village of Oxford, the village of Leonard, Addison Township, or Oxford Township, these are the people that you elected, and the committees and the commissions that make decisions that directly affect you, whether you attended those meetings or not. And those decisions could have directly affected you. So that's why we're here.
And if you want to see all the fun that's going to happen, just don't show up at these meetings because, you know, they make rules that, we're looking for humor. There it is. And that's what we're looking for in these meetings that we
Absolutely.
put on, right? Okay.
What you got?
Well, we got a couple things. You want to talk about humor? We just had an election here. Actually, it was a primary election, and it was a national primary, and a lot of people that came to the booth to vote, they want to know, why can't I vote for both Republican and Democrat? Well, you had to choose, which ballot you wanted to go with.
Well, the difference, of course, in our state is that it's what's called an open primary, and in other states it's called a closed primary, whereas a closed primary, you have to come in as a registered member of the party,
right?
And that's what you get. But when you go to ours, you can be a Democrat or a Republican.
Yes. Did you hear that flying saucer go over?
Even if you're a socialist worker, you can be a Democrat or a Republican.
You can be. And actually all they're doing is they're selecting, who is going to go to the general election, which is in November.
Well, you know more about this than I do, but based on the results of the primary, are the delegates proportionately allocated according to the vote? Or is it a winner take all?
I think it's winner take all here in Michigan. I mean, there's like 56 votes or 60 some votes available that they, were taken. Oh. So anyway, I think Bernie was one of the concerns here that he wasn't going to win Michigan, but Trump won his. And
Trump trumped.
Yeah, he trumped. And Hillary, though, she didn't go the extra mile here in Michigan.
That's true, although Bernie and her finished very close together.
They did, so it was a close race. But anyway, let's talk about what goes on here in the township and how actually the people that volunteer, to handle the votes. Because you see those people standing there.
You know any of those people?
I do, yeah. I was chairperson for precinct number 5. And
how many precincts are there?
There's 7
in
the township, yep. And they're at different locations, so that's kind of confusing.
I should hope
so. Confusing, yeah, but that's I've got, there was precinct 5 and precinct 4 in the same building. That's why I said that. But most of them are not in the same building. For example, I had a guy come in, we went through the computer, he said, I don't know where I'm at. I said, we're right here. Anyway, on the computer, we pulled it up and he was precinct 2, which I believe is a school, on Pontiac Street.
Okay.
So we sent him on down there. That happens all the time, folks, so don't feel like you're being slated or slighted because that does occur. We want to send you to the right area so that you can vote.
I know in Lake Orion, they use St. Joe's Church as one of the precincts over there.
Right. Now, I want to say that the local primary is coming up. Again, you'll select candidates for the local offices that are there. And
coming up?
Well, coming up. That's going to be on August 2nd.
Well, they could have just parlayed.
No, that's not the way it's done.
We choose the most expensive route.
No, it's restrictive. I mean,
actually, the primary was paid for eventually by the various parties that are having the primary.
Yeah, that's part of the humor we're talking about.
It's not coming out of your pocket, taxpayers.
Well, at least not while you're looking.
Just out of your dues.
Okay, you got it. So anyway, the local primary is coming up August 2nd, and you folks that are interested in running for an office, regardless of who's in there right now, you might think, well, yeah, I could do that job better. Well, you need to get your, what do they call them, petitions in before April 19th. And you need in the township, you need 25 signatures at least.
I see. Can you be a write-in?
You can be a write-in, but chances of winning as a write-in, you have to be pre-approved for a write-in, by the way.
Oh, do you?
You can't just write anybody's name in there. It has to be handled through the township. So you have to go to the main office.
So Batman doesn't count?
Batman doesn't count. No, won't win.
Okay.
And of course, I believe in the village, the same thing holds true. You have to have 25 signatures, and it has to be submitted by April 19th, both cases. There are council...
Is that number based on the population of the given area? Or is it just 25 for any municipality?
Well, actually it is, because if you go to Addison Township, they only require 10, petition signatures of residents.
And God only knows what Leonard has.
I think there's one or two. Not sure
Okay.
about Leonard. But anyway, so the people you pick at the August 2nd local primary will be like, township supervisor, council members for the village. Will, if you're voting at the village level. And of course, all the trustee jobs are, there. Most of the jobs that you see on planning commission and so forth, those are appointed
Right.
by the trustees. Then, once you've done that, these names will show up on the general election, which is in November 8th, including the presidents on there.
Are you going to man the helm on that one too?
I will probably do that, yeah.
Okay.
I've been doing this for about 3 or 4 years, so.
So you're probably doing it right by now.
They've almost got me trained, yeah. They're still working on it. Piece of work and training, yes. So anyway, that election, of course, is on November 8th, and you can choose, of course, either Republican or Democrat. You don't have to, go any straight ticket if you don't want to. You can if you want, So that gives you a lot of versatility there. I wanted to say one thing, though. There are some terrific people at the township level that I worked with, and one is Curtis Wright, the clerk.
Absolutely.
Just a phenomenal guy. He was all
Very-
over the place.
very knowledgeable.
He was helping to set up the equipment, the tabulators and so forth.
And his loyal assistant.
And he had several
Sue
loyal.
McCullough?
Well, yeah, but
Kelly Richter?
yeah, but in setting things up, he had a crew of people that he controlled.
Oh.
Each of the locations, and they had to deliver, for example, the laptop computers, which are what they call the poll book, to every location before 7 o'clock. Much before 7, because you had to go through and insert the USB and all that good stuff in order to get it running and test it. So, I mean, those guys were really on the ball. And you said Susan McCullough. She is phenomenal.
Yes, she is.
I mean, she runs that staff.
She
and
is
she's
the
got-
deputy clerk.
Yep. And with Kelly Richter, who's administrative assistant.
Right.
Those two ladies, I mean, they make it work over there, along with Curtis Wright.
I walked into their office about a week and a half ago, and there was stuff all over the place, and they had it all in order, ready to go.
Well, there I'm going to talk about it, because a typical day for volunteers and also for the township, I don't think those people in the township even sleep, because they're there, when we get there. And most of the volunteers, they get out of bed between 4 and 5, and they have to be there by 6 o'clock at their poll.
Do they feed you?
No, you got to bring your own lunch.
What?
You do, yeah. You bring your own lunch. It's not a big deal, though, because time goes by so fast, even though it's, 14, 17 hours that you spend there. At least
No pizza, no donuts, no
and
coffee?
you don't have time. Trust me on this one. So,
When I went in to vote, I was the only person there. There were 6 machines, and I was the only person there, but I was the 300th
were you
person.
from Leonard?
No, I was from Brandon Township.
Oh, that figures, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll go to the next one. We'll say, okay, all these people get up early and they get there by 6 o'clock. By 7 o'clock, the poll's open. But before that, you got to set up. And we'll talk about that when we come back right after that message.
It was a setup.
It was a setup. It was.
With St. Patrick's Day right around the corner, please remember to drink responsibly and stay safe. From your friends at Oxford Community Television.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking about what goes on in your local government in terms of election. And we work to the point of what these volunteers actually do. They get there and have to open the polls by 7 o'clock. But before that, there's a lot of testing going on. They have a tabulating machine, which is a computerized system that uses what they call SSDs, solid state disk. You were going to say that, weren't you?
Of course.
Okay. And it records all the action for the day, all the votes.
Nice thing about Michigan, or at least our area, is that there's no hanging chads. It's all
It's
into
all
that machine.
computerized.
Yep.
And that just happened within the last year, 2 years, They use a laptop. First person, I had 3 people myself, and Precinct
And if
5.
you mess up, it spits it right back out at you.
Well, hey, with a little help it does.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
First person, of course, that you will encounter will be that person that will check your ID, make
Right.
sure it's okay. They'll shake you down.
right. They
And-
look at your license. Bring your license.
Yep. And there could be issues there too, that, for example, change of address, you just moved here and
Oh,
they
sure.
look you up on the computer, you're not on the computer, so we have to get you to,
A note from your mom.
yeah. Well, they weren't able to vote at this particular primary, but we were able to write up a form where they
All right.
will be able to vote in the August and the November.
Right.
Yeah.
November is
Okay.
not that far off.
Not that far off. So anyway, with that, then after it leaves the computer, an assignment is made, for a ballot, and that ballot is coordinated with the actual paper ballot. That's issued to the individual that's voting. They then get in behind the booth and do their thing. When they come out of there, they made their vote. It goes into the tabulator. That's when it actually gets registered into the machine.
I noticed on the ballot that it was kind of interesting because over time, as people realize they're not going to go anywhere as a candidate, they drop out. But on that ballot, you've got everybody.
You do, you do, and if you're in that situation, there was very little you could do. I
Right.
mean, they're gone. You don't get an opportunity to do it.
You could
So-
vote for the guy that actually
Yeah.
left,
Could you say, stay home?
which is
It'd be really the
equivalent.
thing to
Which
do.
is sort of equivalent to none of the above.
You're right. You got that right. So anyway, once the precinct has gone through all this, everything's tabulated during the day, then you got to close at the end of the day, and then, of course, the polls close at 8 p.m. sharp. Now, if there's somebody in line, waiting to go into the voting area, you don't say, "Hey, time's up, got to go out." No,
And
you
there-
take
and-
everyone that's there.
And there are other volunteers outside of the polling areas that are promoting their candidates, but they have to stand how far away?
100 feet.
100 feet.
Yep. And there's postings out there, signs, so that, as you say, that they can't go by. There's a minefield. No,
Oh, got a Les,
minefield.
Les
We'll
Nessman
spread that
tape,
rumor.
not beyond this line,
right.
if anyone knows what Les Nessman is.
Now, I tell you what, things just really start shaking once the polls close because you have to take the information off the computer, make sure everything's balanced. If there's any spoiled ballots or whatever during the day, all has to be tabulated. You have to take the tabulation off the voting machine.
Were
make
there any
sure they
spoiled ballots
correspond.
in your
Oh, yes,
place?
there was one in ours.
Really?
Yep. Guy voted for the wrong thing and made a mistake, so we have to
How
spoil
could he
it
vote
and
for the
issue
wrong?
another one.
What do you mean you voted for the wrong guy?
He did.
Can you vote for the wrong
He
guy?
voted for the wrong guy.
I can't vote for the
He
wrong
said, I don't want to vote for that one. I said, well, we can fix that. Actually, the crew.
Fixed it. You put up with the right guy.
Okay, but the crew, I mean, they're very nice. I mean, they'll look at you and they'll, with a sober face, oh, well, yes, we'll take care of that for you. But anyway, we did have one guy that actually went through the line 5 times. Not
Oh,
this
really?
time.
Well, he's a very dedicated voter.
No, right. That doesn't happen very often. That's why I remember it. But most people, you know what? You got to give them credit. They came out and they voted. That's great.
Yeah. What do you have any statistics as to what % of the registered voters actually voted? Typically, it's low in a primary.
It's about 30%.
30%.
Yep. on
Is
this
that
go
good?
around. Well, for us, yeah, it was good for us. Sometimes, in some elections, only 20%.
Oh well.
But no, they did pretty good.
are
Actually,
some-
we hit over 30%
There are
this time.
some countries where it says 100% or else.
And you only got one candidate to vote
Right,
for.
well, that's true too.
So you have to think about that one. A democracy, you do get an opportunity to go further than that. Plus, you get to speak your,
In a real democracy.
right, you can speak your voice, but not in the building where the polls are.
that's
You can
true,
do that
that's
outside 100 feet from the building. But anyway, so after that, everything is tabulated. We have to then take the tab machine, which has the SSD, solid state disk in it, and transmit
that
transmit that to Oakland County. And that's where they get all their numbers and put
I
them
see.
together.
Who takes that?
The county does.
Oh, there's a county guy
Yeah.
comes and picks it up?
No, it's transmitted. Modem.
Oh, modem.
Yeah,
Oh,
everything is
okay.
automated.
All right.
You just have to set it up to do it. And then there's tapes and everything that come off, summary tapes, and what the count was for each the elector, or people that want to run. And you take those tapes, and they have to be attached to certain documents. They have to be sealed in envelopes, and those envelopes have to be sealed again into containers and locked. And then there's 2 people that take that to the township. One Republican, one Democrat is required.
Ah.
And then you also take the laptop with you. You leave, of course, the large machine that we talked about that transmitted. You know, leave that there. It's pretty sizable. Couldn't really get it in the trunk. I tried it.
Oh.
Kicked it. And,
Think how complex it would be if we had 4 or 5 parties that had primaries.
yeah. Right. It could be. And it's going to be really busy, you know, during the election in November, obviously. Once the containers are transported to the township, then those little people that get busy, we talked about Susan McCullough,
Right.
and you know, they're the ones that pull everything out, review it, and they do an audit, make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. And guess what? It's Precinct 5. We got an A+.
Well, look at that little gold star on your collar.
Yeah, that was good. So anyway, so everything worked out real good. And I do want to mention the people that were in my precinct. We had Robert Turner, who handled the computer, and I'll tell you what, I couldn't operate without him. The guy is a super whiz when it comes to computer. So perfect. Good guy. And we also have Janine Trimble, and she's the one that handed out the forms and everything. And she's been with me for about 3 years, I think, maybe 4, you know, in my precinct. And then we had Manon McCullough. If you know the last name? McCullough?
Any relation to
Yes.
someone we know?
Daughter.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, I had her, and she's been with me for a couple of years also. She's, I think, in high school, maybe 11th grader this
wow.
year. So that's pretty much with elections. If you folks have any questions on how the election is run, or if you want to run on a ballot, you have a deadline. We mentioned April 19th. Contact the township hall or contact
That's
the
pretty quick
village.
succession, isn't it?
It is.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of things going on, and the smiling faces you see at 7 o'clock in the morning.
On these primaries, are there any referendums, or is that saved for the presidential?
They'll be for the presidential election, or what you call,
Okay.
or
Or
the
issues,
general
should I
election.
say. Okay.
Yeah, the general election, the national. If there's any proposals, they'll be on there.
Okay.
Okay. And hopefully it won't be any thicker than that, folks. We'll get you out of there soon. But there can be a backup line. Just have patience. I mean,
Middle of the day, everyone's at work. You just go
Yeah.
right through.
yeah. And I got to say, most of the volunteers, they work anywhere from 14 to 17 hours. You know, so be good to them.
And
They're
they
trying.
still don't feed them.
No, they still don't feed them if you don't have time. But we're putting in for extra person in our precinct, and I think some others are too because
caterer.
we're short. Yeah, caterer, pizza man. We're going to put him in. Next meeting we're going to talk about is the Addison Township Parks and Recreation. You know, I love to talk about that
Oh,
one,
yes,
don't
you do. Those are sweethearts out there.
They are. And you have Dave Kostek on that board, and he's the co-chairman. But the chairperson is Rod Blazek.
Okay.
He controls the meeting pretty good. And then you have Larry Douglas, who wasn't in this particular meeting and was absent. And then Chuck Pernigan is his name. And Chuck is a very active guy, very down-to-earth, no nonsense kind of guy. Really like him. And we'll tell you more about it when we come back right after this.
We will be back.
We will. Welcome back to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here talking now about the Addison Township Parks and Recreation. I
Yepers.
love that group. Those people, they volunteer for just about everything, and everybody in the community seemed to, join in this thing.
Very active, very community-minded.
I can remember Bruce Pearson, who's the supervisor of the township, saying when they brought up, how many people leave Addison Township? Bruce says, what? Nobody leaves Addison Township. He said, they move here, they love it. So, good point. So anyway, this
won't
is
let
the,
'em.
and these, this is one of the reasons why they love it, is the Parks and Recreation. They
Oh,
have
yeah.
lakes and all the things going on.
Well, it's a nice rural area there.
Right. Well, the first thing they did is they read the minutes off. Of course, they read the minutes, word for word. And then they said, well, are there any bills? And Charlie says, yeah, there happens to be some bills. Chuck says, $94.30. That'll break the budget.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So and
Eat
he-
your hearts out, other municipalities.
Right. And they said, well, what are the bills for? He said, well, we had to replace the lock, on the Arnold
Oh,
building,
well.
the school building. Said it wasn't working properly. Then we had to get some keys for it. And then we had to buy some rakes and shovels for things that we're going to be doing. They said, hey, good enough. All those in favor. They approved. It's
Aye,
done. Aye, aye. There goes the ship. Anyway, old business. You remember we talked about the pitch pump?
The pitch pump,
We did. And
otherwise known as the hand pump.
right. They want to put actually a well and a pump in the Arnold building. And now they're saying that they will put the water inside the building with a sink and so forth. And I don't think they're talking about putting a connection on the outside of the building now, but running a hose if they need it.
Right.
To the location.
Will it still be a
that-
pitch pump?
No, it's going to be a regular
Yeah,
pump
yeah,
for
no.
this. There's going to have to be a well for this. And they actually have a bid outstanding right now for R&B Well, who's going to come in and check it out, and they'll give their proposal probably by the next meeting. So I think it's going to be pretty reasonable. This guy they worked with him before.
Is that an area where they have to go very deep?
You know what? Where that's at, you just stick a fork in the ground and it comes right
Artesian well right there, no pump needed.
just about. Yeah. But the Department of Health, Oakland County, they have more stringent controls and rules. So they have to,
Spoil sports.
yeah. So they have to. Well, it might be spurting from the top, but what is it?
know.
Septic field? I don't think so.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
you got to
it
make
looked like
sure
water.
you got to make sure that the water is good enough for healthy
Yeah.
people.
I've heard there's water issues in this state somewhere. Could be, huh?
North of here.
Okay, well, let's not let it happen over in Addison. I think they're keeping a
Absolutely
good
not.
eye on it. You folks will have drinking water over there, I'm sure. Anyway, another subject that came up was Lake George. Remember they're doing some fill-in over there? So they said topsoil. They're going to
Oh,
have it delivered in the spring and have that done. Also, the overhead doors. Bruce Pearson, the supervisor of the township, he said that he has a volunteer that's going to come in and install the doors. And
That's front and rear.
Yeah, front and rear. Overhead doors, though.
Okay.
And they do have to frame things up a bit to make them fit.
Is that
volunteers?
are those electric or are they just pull it with a cord?
I don't know if it's going to be electric. Probably not, but I think they
Okay.
probably have in their budget, being they only spent $94.30. They can probably buy
They've
one.
got a
on
windfall.
sale. Yeah. They might want to work that out and get it. It'd be a more of a safety issue too. Keep people from coming in and out of the building. By having a control on it, wouldn't it? You're thinking about it,
Yeah, well, you could still put a lock on it.
or they could cut a hole in the building and get in. I guess.
Yeah, you got those little twisty locks that you could have in the pull-ups. And
Oh, yeah. Okay, that would work. But then you could lock yourself. Well, anyway, we won't do that. Okay. Charlie says, well, what about the open well? He says at Lake George. Remember we talked about that?
the open well,
Yeah, there's an open well there.
as in throw a bucket down there.
Yeah, you throw a rock down, and Charlie says, and 3 minutes later it goes kaploosh.
Ooh.
So anyway, apparently there's a pipe that comes up from it,
Oh.
and they just want to make sure that
It's not dangerous, is it?
Well, it would be. People,
If you
if
fell
somebody
in.
was to fall in there.
No, but I mean, is there a cover on it?
Not yet, but there's going to be.
Okay, then it won't be so open.
Right. And also for the pipe that's coming up, they're going to, Chuck is going to get a round pipe and put over it and put a cap on it.
Oh.
So it doesn't get any debris or anything into it.
Good
It's
idea.
safe.
Good
And they'll
idea.
be able to test the water later. So anyway, so they're going to do something with that, make it safe. Then they said, let's talk about the articles or flyers that we're going to put out. He said, we need to have flyers out for news items that are going on, he said, in the township. And they did discuss that before, remember? You don't remember?
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'm going to remind you. They said also,
That cell died.
right. They said also, remember, we're going to put out stakes. Like this is a shrub. This is a tree. This is,
Oh, no Latin names at all?
yeah, this is a porcupine. This is a snake. Be careful.
Snakus, snakus, snakus.
Right. This is where the beavers live.
Ah.
You know, that kind of thing. But one of the things that came up too is that, look, we have Arnold School, and they're remodeling it, inside right now. They're putting a new floor in, redoing all the walls.
What function
drywalls.
is it going to have?
It's going to be a, what do they call it, that people come to, for parks. You know the word.
A rain shelter.
It will be definitely a rain shelter, no question about that. Excuse me. But anyway, so it's going to be a place that you can come in, and it'll show actually pictures of the various wild birds and beaver and things that you can expect to see out there. No buttons you can push that makes noise like a giraffe or anything.
No pictures of grizzly bears.
Could be, I'm not sure. It depends now. The bears might complain. We don't have our picture in there. So it could be rough on people, trying to make it through the parks. So anyway, so that's going to happen, it looks like. Points of interest is what I want to talk about. And they said how to avoid, how do we avoid things, like poison ivy, things like that. We don't want to do that.
First of all, you have to know what it looks like.
You got to know what it looks like. So they'll have a picture of it there. They'll say, do not pick
Poison
this.
ivy,
Do not make salad
poison
out of it.
sumac, and stinging nettles. I hate stinging nettles.
Oh, yeah, especially when you eat them. Not good.
You actually can.
Can you really?
Yeah.
Have you tried it, huh?
Not me.
Okay, that's how I figured you knew. Okay, that being said about nettles,
Have to make a soup on them.
they said that they need to repair docks, and there's a dock at the Rangers cabin that needs to be corrected. And I think that's called Slating Lake, where that's at. It's called Slating Lake.
I don't know.
Close enough. Anyway, we'll call it that.
I'll take a note.
We spread rumors here too. Mostly he does, but this time I will. Old business. The floors. I was talking about the building, for the old school. What's happening is Chuck said he was in the basement, and he said it's kind of a mess down there because he said the floor joists are old pine.
Are we talking about the school itself?
Talking about the school itself.
Oh,
The Arnold School.
Okay.
The old one. And the old floor joists are starting to, let debris fall to the floor. It's starting to deteriorate. Right. So they discussed how to correct that, and they decided that they would get a spray of a sealer, seal it.
And
It
an
would be the best
I-beam.
way to do it.
And an I-beam.
Well, he says, Chuck says the I-beams are okay yet, but he said he's kind of concerned about that. So they will spray it. That should, allow it to have some longevity, at least for a week or two.
No termites or anything.
No termites.
Okay.
No, good thought. Right. That could be. No, that's not
You start
termites.
seeing debris around, you go,
Right. Then they talked about the garage. They said, remember, they're going to build a garage, but
Yeah.
they need to get kits. Well, they haven't got a price on a kit yet, but they're going to be out checking on it, and that's going to be built at the Arnold School. In the meantime, they said, well, we do have the light poles now, for that area, and we need to install the preliminaries for that. Get the cement in, get the pole up.
were those the ones that Bruce Pearson rounded
Those
up?
are the ones he rounded up. Good job there, Bruce. You got
A
him.
magician.
Yeah, he did it. Pulled it out of his hat. Well, that was a pretty big hat. So anyway, they did talk about training for rangers and so forth, and everything that's going to be put together that way. And then they said there's a sign that was going to be volunteered to be produced by a Boy Scout, but according to the trustees, they didn't choose to do that. So he's going to get another project instead. So with that being said, what's coming up?
We do have meetings. On March 16th at 3 o'clock, the Pollyant Trail Management Council will be meeting, and that will be at Friendship Park in Lake Orion. I think that's the first time for a while. And at 6:30 that same day, the Oxford Board of Education will be meeting at the board offices. And on March 17th at 4:30, NOTA, North Oakland Transportation Authority, will be meeting at the NOTA business offices in Lake Orion again.
I like those guys.
Yep. And still on 3/17 at 7 o'clock, the Village of Leonard Planning Commission will be meeting. And on 3/21, the Village of Oxford Downtown Development Authority will be meeting at 6 o'clock. And at 7:30, the Addison Township Board of Trustees will be meeting.
Well, that's good. Sounds like we have lots to talk about next time.
Absolutely.
I'm Elgin Eccles.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
We'll catch you right here next time on Minutes by Minute.
See you then.